F1 has obviously grown massively, and
Yep.
we know Netflix and Drive to Survive has had a huge part to bring in new fans. Nicholas.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to start. This Horner interview is a banger. Let's go.
I think that's a pretty big measure in terms of the popularity of the sport. It's not just the drivers, it's now the team principals, it's now the mechanics who are stars. It really is huge.
Well, I think that the appeal of the sport, and I think what has really opened the sport up, is not just the docu-series, like Drive to Survive, but it's also the digital media and the access and the content that is being distributed, hourly, globally, and that has been a game changer for the sport. And obviously, there's many different stories and backstories, behind that have an intrigue to the enormous fan base.
Did Callum come to you and say, look, I'm writing a book, have a flick through, just make sure everything's all right? Because, there are secrets, there are stories that maybe you don't want to be told in a book, or do you trust him?
Well, look, he knows the guidelines, and he's a great addition to our team, and obviously it's his individual journey. So, but of course there won't be any company secrets being given away.
Okay, good. Get that clear. We've obviously heard you talk already on TalkSport about Sergio Perez and the decision to make changes and Liam Lawson coming in.
The fact that a mechanic can write a book and have fans eager to read it shows how far F1 has come. This isn't just about racing anymore. It's about personalities, stories, and a shared passion that brings people into the fold from all walks of life. And in other news, Liam Lawson, let's go.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you about Yuki Tsunoda because obviously you've made the decision to go for Liam Lawson, and you outlined the reasons that obviously being Max's teammate is quite a daunting task. How do you manage Yuki's expectations now? Because he'll naturally be very disappointed.
Well, of course he is. I spoke to him a short while ago, and he's more motivated than ever to, he wants to prove us wrong, obviously. And as I said to him, look, this sport moves so quickly, this industry moves so quickly, that he just needs to keep doing a great job in the Racing Bulls team. I think that he's got a lot of talent. He drove our car at a test just a week or so ago as we wanted to really evaluate him, and he impressed the engineering staff. It's just we felt that Liam's trajectory, together with his mental strength and resilience, were the right assets to partner Max next year, because arguably that seat is the toughest in Formula One, going up against Max Verstappen, who is at the peak of his career.
You're used to going up against all kinds of challenges. Obviously, we've seen Lewis challenge, we've seen Lando challenge this year. How do you expect things to change now the relationship between Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton is no longer that Lewis is going to Ferrari? Are we still going to see you and Toto exchanging, for us, what is quite entertaining banter? But for you, it's all part of the job.
As you say, it's all part of the job. So, I mean, Lewis, that's a big move. I mean, he's been with the Mercedes family his entire career. So to step out of that into arguably the biggest brand in Formula One, Ferrari, it's a great story for Formula One, and it could be just the revitalization of Lewis that he's been looking for. He's looked very flat the last 3 years, and perhaps that relationship became a little stale. And Lewis, he's the most successful driver in the history of the sport, and driving a Ferrari next year could well be a serious competitor. So we don't underestimate anybody or any of our competitors.
Yuki's journey is a reminder of how tough F1 can be. Talent alone isn't always enough. But isn't this setback just another chance for him to rise above and prove he's more than a promising driver? The resilience he shows now could define his career.
What's your relationship like with Fred Vasseur? Because we've enjoyed the Toto rivalry, but now if we are going to continue the Lewis and Max rivalry, it's going to be you and Fred. He seems like a friendly guy.
Fred is more of a racer. He's come from a similar background to that of myself, and he's more of a no-nonsense kind of character. There's perhaps a little less hot air out of Fred. But look, it's a new position for him, really, to be. He's been Ferrari a couple of years now, and inevitably that pressure will grow with the expectation of having Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc in his cars next year.
We've just seen actually while you've been in the building that Mercedes have finally sort of dropped the big hint that Valtteri Bottas will be going there as a reserve driver.
Yeah.
Now obviously Valtteri's a multi-race winner and he's got some he's got some serious pedigree, but he's suffered with a severely sort of underwhelming car this year.
Yeah.
Was he ever considered to be brought into the Red Bull family? I know that you're always kind of looking across both youth and experience.
I think what we've really looked at again is utilising the junior team, investing in this young talent and seeing these young guys getting the chance. So Liam being a product of that, as was Max, and even before him, Sebastian Vettel. And what's exciting for us are some of the youngsters in that programme. Isaac Hadjar, who finished a close second in the F2 Championship, a British lad, Arvid Lindblad. Again, another talent that's really worth keeping an eye on over the next 12 months.
You've also brought in Alicia Palmowski into into your setup, and she was in the GB4 Championship last year, did very well, has done a bit of Formula E testing, and is now coming to do F1 Academy. So the F1 Academy is also something that you're huge on. Yeah,
Alicia stood out. We did a test down in Estoril in Portugal to evaluate all the drivers, and she was very, very impressive. So with her, with Chloe joining us from the Haas team, and Rafaela next year is a great lineup, but very, very excited about that prospect.
Valtteri Bottas joining Mercedes as a reserve driver is a smart move, giving the team a seasoned backup with proven race-winning experience. While Red Bull's focus remains on their junior program, it's clear that F1 thrives on this mix of youthful promise and veteran expertise.
We're all looking, it's a weird year, we're all looking towards 2026, but obviously we can't underestimate 2025. There is on the horizon, basically a year away now from an 11th team joining the grid. How much does that change your preparations with 2 extra drivers there and the might of, the Cadillac brand?
Well, it doesn't change anything really for us. I mean, we just focus on ourselves. It means that some of the paddocks will be a little busier with an 11th team in 2026, but for us, it's business as normal. There's nothing, they've got their own mountain to climb. We're focused on making sure that we're staying at the top of ours.
Could Daniel Ricciardo make a return? There are rumours.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Even if they went for the experience of somebody like Sergio. And if he decides he wants to continue his career in Formula One.
Right, finally, I've asked a few people around the office, what do you want to ask Christian Horner? There's nothing here that's going to be too bad, but I'm just going to fire some relatively quick fire questions at you. You can elaborate as much or as little as you like. The first one, we'll start very simple. Who is going to be Max's biggest challenger in 2025?
I would say McLaren drivers.
Horner's confidence in McLaren's drivers as Max's biggest challengers in 2025 speaks volumes about their recent progress. It's clear McLaren's resurgence is turning heads, and their ability to consistently challenge Red Bull will be one of next season's biggest storylines.
Okay. Current F1 track that you wish that you could race at as a racer yourself?
Current F1 track? Suzuka.
How many air miles do you currently have?
I've stopped counting. I've got too many.
Favourite airport lounge in the world?
Favourite airport lounge? Difficult to say. They're just getting better and better. I mean, some of the ones in the Middle East now are truly impressive.
Okay. Which other team principal in Formula One would you most like to have round to your house for dinner?
Really? Look, there's many different characters out there. There's some, and I'm now, ironically, the elder statesman out of all of them.
Wow.
So difficult. It's sort of all or nothing, I think.
Okay.
The Middle Eastern airport lounges getting a nod highlights how luxury has become an integral part of the modern F1 lifestyle. It's not just about the tracks anymore. It's a whole ecosystem of prestige.
A whole group thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. The drivers do that at the end of the season. Maybe you start the season off with it.
Maybe we should do that, yeah.
I like that. Which country that you visit in the F1 calendar has the best food?
Well, it's so many different cuisines where we go around the world, isn't it? So it depends what you're into. But yeah, there's the pasta and the Italian food is amazing. All the different venues that we go to, the Mexican food, the Trasquerias in Brazil. It's hard to pick one out is pretty difficult.
Okay, all foods. Dream car that you have never actually got to drive yourself?
Dream car, road car, or
whichever, any car.
Um, I was always a fan of the Ferrari F40 growing up. You know, I had a poster on my bedroom wall, so it'd be fun to have a run in one of those.
Most aesthetically pleasing Red Bull car over the years?
Probably, it depends. I mean, I think the 2013 car was a very pretty car.
Okay.
Proportionally, it was a very good car.
Nice. And finally, and I've asked a lot of team principals this, there's a race. It's you, it's Zak Brown, Toto Wolff, and Fred Vasseur. All cars are equal.
Yeah.
On a track that is unremarkable. Who's going to win that race and how's it going to go down?
Well, it's more about who's going to be second, really.
Big words. I think it personally it'd be you against Zak Brown.
Zak, I used to race with Zak. I didn't see much of him. He was in the same race.
Right.
When we raced in Formula 3 many years ago, about 25, 30 years ago. But he's getting a lot of practice in these days. He's always driving.
He does seem to always be driving. Finally, I've got to ask you about this, and you may hate being asked about this, which is why I've left it till the end. The famous clip of Martin Brundle and you. What's your relationship like with Martin now? Can you look back and laugh, given how successful you've been in Formula One since he was driving in Formula One?
Yeah, look, I have a great relationship with Martin, and he's. You've got to have a bit of banter sometimes. You can't take life too seriously, and we have a good laugh every now and then. He's got a good person. He's got a good sense of humour, and doing the job we do, you have to have one.
The Ferrari F40 as a dream car is a nostalgic choice for many motorsport fans. It's a reminder of how the iconic cars of our youth shape our passion for the sport. How many F1 principals still dream of the poster cars from their childhood?